Hello and welcome to another episode of the Restricted Area Podcast, where today we talk winners and losers of NBA free agency and another week in WNBA action. Before we get started, just wanted to remind you all, if you all wanted to listen to this podcast a day before it comes out on YouTube, feel free to listen to the audio only versions on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music. But to get you started, I'm your host, Alex Perez, joined by producer Colton Smith and co-host Logan Hatfield. How we doing, fellas?
Doing good. Not quite the view that Logan has right there behind me, but
Right.
doing pretty good. I got a sock that needs to be two socks that need to be thrown in the washer. That just happened to be sitting on the ground. All I'm going to do is chalk it up to college dorm life. But Logan, how about you?
I'm doing good, guys. I'm doing good. Yes, I do have a bit of a view today. We are recording outside. A little new setting, new setting. We're here in downtown Memphis, and I'm excited to get going. This is probably the best view I'll have recording for an episode probably ever. So I don't know if I'd get too used to it.
That's living out there, it looks like. But we will go ahead and get started. NBA free agency is in full swing, and we've had fireworks already, fellas. So we'll go with winners first. Colton, who you got for your winners of free agency so far?
I'm gonna take the easy one. Denver Nuggets, by far the winners of this free agency and offseason in general. They have a really easy job when you thinking about it. The Denver Nuggets do. They have the best player in the world, Nikola Jokic, and yes, Logan, I know what you're thinking over there. Shea, maybe number two, but he's number two behind Jokic. And essentially, all they have to do is assemble a team that for the 10 to 15 minutes that Jokic doesn't play, and that's probably being a little generous, isn't the worst team in the NBA. That's all they have to do. They have failed at that for 2 years. When they didn't fail at that, they won a championship. What did they do? They went and traded for Cam Johnson, who, the more I look at it, I think he's honestly a Michael Porter Jr., but with a higher basketball IQ and just an all around better player. They returned Nuggets legend, who honestly won them a game in that finals run, Bruce Brown. They added Tim Hardaway Jr., who isn't obviously consistent player, never has been, but I could see him going off in a game in the playoffs. He's a solid bench guy on the Nuggets. And then they traded for Jonas Valanciunas, who's probably the best backup center that Jokic has had ever, unless you count Nurkic, I guess, if he was ever a backup. But I would still take Jonas over Nurkic. Um, yeah, the Nuggets won this offseason, and I don't even know if they're done yet. If I'm Russell Westbrook, I'm trying to get back on this team. They don't want me, but I'm trying to get back on this team because this is my best chance to get a ring if I can somehow sneak my way back onto this Denver roster. And Alex, I know you're high on him. You took the words right out of my mouth. 2026 champion. If I had to pick one right now, it's Denver. They're back, and they're scary.
Logan?
Yeah. Well, first of all, you got to beat the champs to be the champs. So let's ease up on that.
Hey, they took them to 7 games with the team they had last year, which I thought was hardly even a second round team.
Agree.
And I mean that's fair, but we saw how it ended. Um, I have two big winner teams from this offseason. My first one is I thought it was a little bit low key. It's the Atlanta Hawks. Um,
Yeah, I
spe-
got them.
Specifically speaking about their free agency and some of the players they've been acquiring. Obviously, the biggest one was Kristaps, but we talked about Kristaps last week and about how when the ball ends in his hands, the possession will end. I don't know how it's going to end, but the play will end, like Alex said. But picking up those key complementary pieces, Nikhil Alexander-Walker and Luke Kennard, those are going to be sneaky good additions. They replace the production that they lost in Karis LeVert. But I think getting Nikhil Alexander-Walker, who you saw in the playoffs against Oklahoma City, he can go off any night. And then Luke Kennard, one of the best shooters in the NBA, shot about, I believe, 43%. That's good numbers that they're bringing in, and those are going to complement that Hawks offense very well. And then my other big winner, and I think arguably what's going to be looked at as a top three move in this offseason is the hometown city picking up Ty Jerome. Ty Jerome going to the Grizzlies is huge. Obviously, the Cavaliers have no money, and the Cavaliers are going to be wrecked by the second apron very soon. So they could not handle having Ty Jerome brought back on the contract that he got from Memphis. And I think this one's going to pan out pretty well for the Grizzlies.
I completely agree with all those points. For me, just wanted to go a little more in depth on Denver because nobody's had a better offseason. Trading MPJ for Cam Johnson, who is a better defender, you're getting basically the same production on offense and $20 million less. You can't pass up on that deal. That's a home run, even if that's the only move they made this whole offseason. Then Bruce Brown, the glue guy that they had on that championship team. And speaking on Tim Hardaway, he's kind of like the KCP replacement that they've been missing for 2 seasons now. He's just great in his role. He's going to get a lot of open looks this year, and he shot 63% on open three-pointers last season. So I think that'll be a key piece for them coming up in this season. And Valanciunas, I just found it funny that he signed to possibly the prohibitive favorite for the championship, and he was like, "No, I'll just go overseas." And then Denver was like, "You're not doing that. We have a championship. We need that." So that's a win for them just to be able to do that. And then the other one I feel like is an obvious one, but the Rockets adding Durant, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Capella, they are super deep everywhere. So those are really my winners of free agency so far.
I did have. Oh, sorry.
No,
I thought you were going to losers, so I wanted to get a winner out really quick. I think the Pistons can also be considered winners here. They did lose Malik Beasley, or maybe I don't know what's going on with his whole situation, but just another example of an NBA player who is already making a crap ton of money and for some reason decided to risk all of that. Anyways, Karis LeVert, I think, is an outstanding replacement for Malik Beasley. Is he as good of a shooter? No. But he is going to be he's a guy that comes from a winning culture in Cleveland. He comes, which is kind of weird to say outside of the LeBron era. But he comes from that. He's always just kind of had this winning attitude and has been a fit really anywhere he goes and has been a great bench piece, locker room piece, whatever you want to call it. So I really like this addition for the Pistons. He's a gritty guy. He'll play defense. Duncan Robinson will not play defense, but neither did Tim Hardaway Jr., and I would say they're pretty comparable players. So I like both of those pickups in a weak East. I do want to circle back to the Hawks because that was my other winner. All those signings and what is great. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, I've been high on him since college. So it was really great seeing him thrive in Minnesota. It's sad to kind of see that era come to an end, but he's another guy coming from a winning culture in Minnesota. He can bring that into the locker room at Atlanta. Quinn Snyder, I think, is one of the more underrated coaches in the NBA. He hasn't quite broken out with the Hawks yet, but we saw Trae Young playing the game very differently than what we're used to seeing. And if he's able to buy into that, if this team can buy into what Quinn Snyder's selling, they had the number one pick last year. And Zachary, I know Zachary is his first name. Like they had him last year, and he looked good towards the end. I'm still not sure what his potential outlook on the NBA is, but I think he'll be a considerable a contributor for this team next season. And I think with the weak East, the Pistons and the Hawks are honestly primed to be the 4-5 game, and I can see them knocking off or even getting a higher seed than that, and potentially knocking off anybody.
Hello, Memphis.
Sorry, that train has literally never come past here once since I've lived here. I've never heard that. I thought the trains were out of service. But
all right.
while we're on the topic, Colton, I'm glad you brought up the Hawks too. They were just like they were a series away from being in the finals within the last 5 years, and then that team seems to have just been stuck in limbo. But I think these are the moves that push them over the edge, get them out of that play-in purgatory, and I think that they could be primed for another deep playoff run.
I also think Trae Young is one of the most underrated players in the NBA. I think if you give him a team, I think this team is arguably I have to see them play first, but I feel like they could arguably be better than that team that made the Eastern Conference Finals run. And in a week as weak as the Eastern Conference is, as well as Trae Young can be in clutch situations, I don't know. We saw it with the Pacers last year and the year before. Like, it's open, the window's open, and yeah. But that was probably the alarm telling us to give the mic back to Alex here. It is his show after all.
Before we did move on, I just wanted to touch on a couple more. The Knicks are going to get Jordan Clarkson, it seems like. And they got Yabusele, and he just seems like a perfect fit for their culture. And they got Mike Brown as their coach, and I feel like that's a really good hire for them. He'll actually use the bench, so that'll be fun to see if they have any depth there, actually. And then the Magic getting Bane and then re-signing Mo Wagner, even though I felt like somebody was going to overpay him, but they didn't end up doing that, probably because they had the bird rights. But anyways, Tyus Jones replacing uh, Cole Anthony. I feel like he's an upgrade there, so I feel like that's a win for them as well. But we will move on now to our losers in free agency. Logan, you got any?
Yeah, I have one big ginormous loser, and that is the Milwaukee Bucks. Um, I just don't understand what they're trying to do here. Signing Miles Turner, which, by the way, by proxy does kind of make the Pacers a loser of free agency. But my main thing here is
We're
you
just fucking
sign.
losers.
Jay Huff basketball coming to you.
Hey, man, and in 49 other states, it's just basketball.
Sure is.
They bring in Miles Turner on a pretty sizable contract after, and then they proceed to get rid of Damian Lillard and then just build this hodgepodge of a team around Giannis, who's already not the most content with how things are going there. And the team just got bounced round one, and they're just going to run it back with the same roster plus some just it's a conglomeration of something that I don't think I'm too much of a fan of. And you lost Brooke Lopez, so I really don't know what they think they're going to accomplish by the moves they made. I mean, I guess by the stretch of the word, Miles Turner is an upgrade. Yes, but you don't have your point guard anymore, who you wouldn't have had anyway. I don't know. It's all just it doesn't make any sense to me, and I think the Bucks are primed for about 5 years of play in finishes.
Colton, what you got?
Well, Miles Turner, I'll still get his jersey eventually because he's a Pacers legend at the end of the day. Was it shady that he went to the Bucks? Sure. Was I really pissed at first? Yes. But then I realized he's going to have to sit there and think about that $4 extra million he took and whether it was really worth it for the next 4 years, I think, or 3 years, however long the contract is. So at the end, he gets what he deserves. So he doesn't deserve that, actually. He deserves to be on the Pacers when the Pacers win the championship in 2027. But that's neither here nor there. Maybe we'll trade him after he gets bought out of his contract or signed for him. I mean, but anywho, my losers first and foremost are the Sacramento Kings. Jonas for Darius Saric in the year 2025 is a joke. And what is Dennis Schroeder going to do but get traded get traded to a contender at the trade deadline? I really don't have any other comments for the Kings. Enjoy 10th seed, if that. Probably not even that because the West got better. The Spurs are my other loser. Their one move this offseason. I'm not saying this was an offseason they had to make a ton of moves. Luke Cornett, 4 years, $40 million. Why? Why? First of all, why is he getting paid $40 million over 4 years? I mean, $10 million a year is not a bad contract in the NBA. And Luke Cornett is a decent big. But why do the Spurs need Luke Cornett? What does that do for this team? Anybody have any idea? And when you compare it to a Clint Capella who got $7.5 million a year, I believe, to go back to the Rockets.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, Clint Capella is a better player than Luke Cornett. I didn't realize I had to clarify that in the year 2025, as I've said twice this spiel. But props to Luke Cornett's agent. He absolutely fleeced the Spurs. Very odd move from Greg Popovich there.
Yeah, I would agree. As I said earlier, Mo Wagner was available. I feel like he would have been better in that situation.
Yeah. Didn't even think about that.
I
He's
feel
a
like
10
not enough
times
people
better
went
player.
after him. Yeah, like there were no offers for Mo Wagner, and I feel like that should make everybody in the NBA a loser. But anyways, I digress. My loser is the Bucks as well. Uh, First off, how are you going? What's it look like when you waive a guy who fought blood clots to get back to play for your organization and then tore his Achilles? And so many people want to talk about player loyalty. There's no loyalty from either side, so I would just like to not hear that conversation anymore. They lost Pat Connaughton, another glue guy, and again, Giannis is not happy. Does he move? Probably not, but he's not happy, so that automatically makes you a loser. And I still have to say, you still employed Doc Rivers and Darvin Ham, so those are offseason moves you probably could have fixed as well. The other one for me is the Warriors. How many moves have they made so far? Zero. They got rid of, they lost Kevon Looney, and we're already a fringe playoff team at best. This obviously makes them worse. So I don't know what they're waiting on, who they think they're going to get. Maybe they think they're going to get another big star and end up trading for somebody like Jimmy Butler, who is a little past their prime. But I am worried about the Warriors because I think their big offseason signing will end up being Al Horford. So I think if that's the signing, your championship window is officially closed. Any final thoughts, Joel?
I just can't stand the Luke Cornett disrespect here. 6-5 with 0 3-point attempts last season. Are we serious? What are we doing? Come on, Colton. That is basketball at its purest form. Okay, he's playing like they did in the '40s. All right, you got to respect that. Okay, I know Greg Popovich isn't there anymore, but he's trying to bring he's using the ghost of his coaching to bring back OG basketball.
He's the GM, right? Or the president of operations.
Yeah, it's perfect. He knows what he's doing.
He's the one who made the decision.
He knows what he's doing.
All right.
Been around a
I
long
had nothing
time.
against Luke Cornett, but I was like, that's a weird move. And then Clint Capella got signed for 7.5, and I'm like, come on now.
No, while you were saying that, I looked up some of Luke Cornett's numbers, and I was just looking at some baseline stuff, and I saw 0 3-point attempts per game, and I chuckled a little bit.
Just
That is
what the
today's
Spurs
big
need
man.
is less spacing.
All right, but if there's no final thoughts, we will move on to Foul or Flop, where we bring you our favorite quote of the week and review whether it's a foul and they have a point or a flop and they're selling baloney. I'll go first. For mine, it's Carolyn Peck, who had to say of the Indiana Fever, I think Indiana is even more dangerous when Caitlin Clark doesn't play. That's a flop for me. I know they've looked okay during her time away. They're 5-4 in the 9 games she's missed overall. Indiana's offense is terrible without her. Offensive production dips, turnovers skyrocket. This is just, I think of all the flops we've done in the 9 episodes, this is the biggest one. Would you all agree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is Commissioner's Cup recency bias showing. That's
Yeah.
other than that, I can't really think of any reason why you would say something like this. You have a generational talent that's missing and makes the team better no matter what level she's playing at. Like she is out there making the team better. You saw it in college and you're seeing it in the pros. To say that I think is crazy. So I think it's a flop for me as well.
Yeah. Flop.
Logan, you want to go next?
Yeah. My quote comes from everyone's favorite player, Damian Lillard, saying he tweeted recently and said, "If they call it a gamble at this stage, tell them this is the jackpot." Talking about his free agency status at the age of 34 with a torn Achilles. Um, that gets a flop for me, Mr. Lillard. At this stage of your career, I'm sure you could be a great piece to a team. However, like I said, you are 34 years old, and you are coming off a torn Achilles. So I don't really know how much more you, as a star, can do for a team. Shout out Colton for the jersey there, but this is also a little bit of bias here, as Damian Lillard is one of my least favorite players of all time. But that's a story for another time. We can talk about that. But that could say that gets a
I'll
flop for me.
reach to that mic and throw you off the roof,
I'll
but
just say, I wonder what the connection is with him being one of his least favorite players. I don't know. But
I couldn't.
anyways,
It might be the background on my laptop. I could pull it up.
I would
I'll
say for
put a
me
picture.
that is also a flop because at this age it's hard to come back from an Achilles injury. Uh, he may have a nice rehab and get to sit out a year and then come back and compete for a contender, but I feel like somebody would have to sign him now for that to be the case, and I don't know who's taking that risk. So for me, it's a flop. Colton, how do you feel?
I'm not commenting. I will not comment for or against said statement of my favorite player of all time. Thank you.
Well, fair enough.
And I
Uh,
also was too lazy to pick a quote for this week, so sorry guys, didn't bring one.
he was hard at work elsewhere, you guys. Don't worry.
I
But
promise.
we will move on to the WNBA action. Before we do that, let's just take a look at the standings for this week. It's Minnesota in first, New York in second, Phoenix in third, Atlanta in fourth, Seattle in fifth, Golden State in sixth, Indiana in seventh, Las Vegas in eighth, Washington in ninth, the Sparks in 10th, Dallas in 11th, Chicago in 12th now, and Connecticut in last place. So, with all that said, Logan, what do you have for storylines from this week?
So I just based on those standings, real quick, I want to say the Wings aren't in last. That's huge, and also Golden State is just hanging around. I'm interested to see what goes on there. But storylines wise, I got a few. I got one that's pretty cool. Sonia Citron and Kiki Iriefim, the first rookie All Star Game teammates since 1999. That's a pretty cool storyline for me. Shout out to Mystics. They're building something there, and I think that's cool. Two rookie teammates in the All Star game is awesome. And then my main storyline I want to talk about more: Sophie Cunningham and her beef with Cleveland and Detroit. What is going on there? She was sounding off on all the expansion cities, and then I don't know if you guys saw it, but the Sparks chimed in and said that Indiana now has beef with LA after the Sparks just recently took down the
Mm-hmm.
Fever. What's going on with Sophie Cunningham, and what is her beef with adding more teams to the league?
I am very confused why, one, she forgot she plays in Indiana, of
Yeah,
all places. Um, Two, she went to Mizzou for college. I don't know if we're acting like that's a hotbed of tourist attractions.
I'm not
I
gonna lie.
don't have a
Have any
beef.
of y'all been to Cleveland, Detroit, or where's the other one? What's the other one?
Philly.
Philly. Those aren't hotbeds for really like any sort of fun. I've been to Detroit. I've been through Cleveland. Outside of their sports teams, there's not. Cleveland's got the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I personally, I don't necessarily agree with all. Like, I'm not saying that you shouldn't be expanding. These are obviously big cities and whatnot. I just expected a little more fun cities, like Nashville gets a team, or like a more growing city. Detroit, Cleveland, not really growing in terms of population, in terms of the younger generation. I think Nashville would be a booming spot. Memphis would be a booming spot. Sorry to disrespect your city like that. Uh, but like places like that are more grow on the uptick, like that's why I kind of like the WNBA start is that they're in these, cities like Seattle, um, Washington. I was trying to think, like even the Connecticut Sun. Like they're in some different spots that aren't necessarily. They don't have four other sports teams that already kind of have roots in there. Like find a place that you can kind of build a culture around and stuff. And that's kind of how I saw it more so than like kind of a knock on the city. Although I'm not, I will be the first one to admit I do not care for Cleveland or Detroit. Hate those cities. But sorry, I do. I've said it Detroit for a long time, but
They will be coming after you in the comments. Don't worry, Colton.
please do.
Uh, but I just don't understand it when like you should be like supporting expansion. those are things you say behind the scenes, even if you feel that way, I guess.
Would
It
agree to
was just a
that.
bad look to say, especially when like WNBA rosters change so much. I don't know if you're one of the players that get like restricted in the expansion draft. So you may end up on one of those teams, and then that's an even
Mm-hmm.
worse look. But anyways, my storylines are also the Indiana Fever because we won the Commissioner's Cup without Caitlin Clark, so that's pretty impressive. Uh, beat Minnesota by a lot. 2-1 over the last three without her, and then first team this season to allow 60 points or less in back-to-back games. So that was a win for Indiana for sure. The game against the Sparks was a little infuriating, but that's okay. We don't have to talk about it. Kelsey Plum's good at basketball. Woohoo. Um, but the other thing I wanted to talk about was the Dallas and Las Vegas trade. Dallas trading Alyssa Smith to the Aces for a 2027 first round pick. Congratulations, Aces, because you just got better, a lot better. The reign of Kia Stokes is over. So, congratulations. Uh, Alyssa Smith, not the best on offense. Certainly not putting up zero, though. So, an upgrade there. Defensively and on the boards, not that much of a difference. Kia Stokes may be a little better there, but Alyssa Smith is a better overall player for sure and an upgrade. So, the championship hopes for the Aces are definitely looking up.
It's funny because my storyline is the Aces, and I did see that trade. I haven't really put too much thought in that into my analysis because personally, I'm not sure that it's really moving the needle for me. Looking at the teams at the top, um, but all in all, I just wanted to comment on the Aces and their current 8-9 start, 9-9 start to the season. And it's just kind of been up and down, or not even up and down, just kind of flatlining for this team. They've been around 500 the whole year, went below a little bit, stayed, came back up, and it's just been run of the mill for the Aces. And that's just not what we expect from Las Vegas. Another cool city that I think they were the first pro sports team to be in, if I remember correctly. Um, yeah, they. I had very high hopes for this team, and I was warned against it. And Alex, and Logan were right on this. They just don't have the depth outside of Asia Wilson, outside of Chelsea Gray and Jackie Young, to really compete against the top teams in the W. So they just got curb stomped by the Fever yesterday or a couple days ago, and then the Washington beat them pretty good. Seattle, Minnesota, they're losing to all the good teams, and you're not going to win the playoffs because guess what? That's who you're going to have to face in the playoffs. So yeah, it's just kind of a negative outlook on the Aces. I do think the trade helps for sure, especially you're not giving up any players really. But I'm not really sure. I think it's more of a duct tape on a large bucket with quite a few holes in it.
Yeah, I think schematically is where they're going wrong because first off, the front court was decimated with Asia Wilson being the only one who was good in that area. But
Mhm.
also Joel Lloyd, they really haven't figured out how to work her into the system yet. And that's a problem when you have a premier player like that, not really putting up the production you expect from her because she's having to ISO whenever she gets the ball because you're not drawing up plays for her. But it's something the Aces got to fix, but I think they will. But now we can go to our overreactions of the week if we have any. Colton, you got some?
Yeah, I'm sticking with the Aces, and I think that and this is just a complete overreaction, will miss the playoffs. And I know, yeah, that's an overreaction. I think there's teams below them right now that I see kind of as a riser. I think the Wings honestly could be one of those. I'm very, very high on their upside for the second half of the season. So, yeah, Aces. I've flipped from championship contenders to not even making the playoffs.
All right, well, Mine kind of bounces off of that, so I will go next. My overreaction is the Aces make the finals now, because I think their
Wow.
biggest hole was
Wow.
that front court problem, and they have some toughness next to Asia now with Nalissa Smith. I saw her in
Okay.
Indiana last year. She's a great role player. She will be there for the team and consistently produce like she did in her first start today. Her debut was bad off the bench for sure, and in that game it was Asia Wilson scoring 29 while the rest of her team scored 25. But we don't have to talk about that right now. The outlook is good. The Aces are going to go to the finals. And then my other one is I don't know if it'll be this season, probably not this season, but I think Enrique may be sent somewhere else pretty soon. Paige Beckers is playing very well. She obviously just made All Star in her first season, and it doesn't seem like the vibe is right and the chemistry is right between them. They don't seem like they complement each other's games as much as they're getting in the way of each other's games. So I feel like Enrique could be on the move, if not this season, next season. But Logan, what you got?
Well, that kind of plays into my overreaction. You bring up Pagey buckets. Also, real quick, I just want to mention that might be the most conflicting overreactions we are going to ever hear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Going from
No.
not making the playoffs to
To the
winning
finals.
to making the finals, which is crazy. But my overreaction is Paige Beckers is going to make that All WNBA push, and she's already been making it. Getting that All Star starter nod, even in her rookie year, she's averaging 19, 4, and 6 on just under 3 stocks. She's doing really well right now, and she has been on an absolute heater. Especially, she had a bit of a slower start to the year, and then had some injury problems here and there, but she has been playing very consistent recently. And obviously, this may be a little biased as she is my favorite player, but I do think she is gonna make that push at the end of the year, and possibly bring the Wings into the playoffs. I know Colton kind of talked about that a little bit, but I think it's gonna be fun, and she's gonna be someone that's gonna be fun to watch for a while. But I do very much think she makes that All WNBA push this year.
I can't argue with that at all. I just wish her and Caitlin Clark came in at the same time because that Rookie of the Year battle would have been insane and maybe the best of all time. But anyways, at least we get to see their basic unanimous Rookie of the Year year after year. So that's fine with me too.
Yep.
But if we don't have anything else, we will move on to our WNBA Pick'em, where we see who knows ball as we pick our winners for the biggest games of the WNBA this week. The first game I have for you all is Tuesday at 8 p.m. on ESPN. Shout out ESPN, finally getting a game together. That's been long overdue. It's the Aces at the Liberty. Colton, who you got?
I wonder who I got. I guess I got to stick with my overreaction here and go with the Liberty. I mean, Liberty are the better team. I'm still not entirely certain on what their health is looking like. It kind of been a game to game basis, but regardless, I think the Liberty are the better team, and I'll rely on them to get the win.
Logan?
I'm also going to be taking the Liberty here. Just with I know Alex, you talk about the Aces on the uptick, but I just don't see this as a very winnable game for them. I think the Liberty show up on national TV and take this one.
Well, I'm going to stick to my overreaction and pick the Aces. I think, again, Alyssa Smith brings a problem for the Liberty to contest, especially with Jonquel Jones still on the mend. She will be out for this game. So I do like the Aces' advantage in that front court now. Obviously, the first time I've said that all season. The Liberty, I think they will have to put up too much effort with the guards, Ionescu and Cloud, and they have Chelsea Gray and Jackie Young that they can throw at them with a bunch of other good defenders. So they will at least make sure they don't drop 40 each. So I think the Aces will make a statement with this one and win here. And then the second one I have is Wednesday at 3:30 on WNBA League Pass. It's the Lynx at the Mercury. Colton, who you got?
Lynx at the Mercury. I mean, the Mercury have been hot. The Lynx, no pun intended on that. the Lynx have been just at the top really the entire season and haven't really turned back. So are they due for a loss here? Is it Mercury due because they've been hot? This is a tough one. I really see it going either way. I'm going to rely on the team that, in my opinion, has been the best throughout the entire season in the Lynx. And I'm going to get them to win this game.
Logan?
Colton, I'm going to have to disagree. I've been very high on the Mercury in recent weeks, and I'm taking them in this one. I think the Lynx kind of had some of their flaws exposed in the Commissioner's Cup, and I think the Mercury are going to continue to expose them. I think the Mercury take this one. So I'm picking Phoenix.
I think I'm going to go with the Lynx in this one. I do agree with your point, Logan. I think it showed in the Commissioner's Cup that they don't deal the best with physicality because that game was certainly physical. The refs were letting a little more play in that one than they usually do. And the Lynx obviously didn't like it. There were some calls that they were used to getting that they didn't. But I think this will be a defensive battle, and I think the better defensive team is Minnesota. I think Phoenix relies too much on that big three. While it has worked for against most of the league, I think Minnesota just has too many great defenders, elite defenders, to not be able to at least contain that a little bit and kind of force the hand of Phoenix to really rely on their bench. And I don't think their bench will step up enough like Minnesota's will and like the starters can for Minnesota as an all-around unit rather than a big three. So I got Minnesota in this one. And then we will move on to our shooting star where we pick our baller of the week. For me, it was going to be Joe Ingles and Eric Gordon for still clearing those checks. But I thought against it. I think the one who really deserves it is Sue Bird, who will soon be immortalized and have her statue unveiled. And she is the first WNBA player to do so. So that is huge. I can't believe that's the first WNBA player to have that done. WNBA is kind of lacking on that front, but neither here nor there. Sue Bird is my shooting star of the week. Colton, who you got?
I'm going with the Denver Nuggets' new front office. Denver, another team that I think would be cool for the WNBA to expand to. I just got to keep on twisting that knife. No, but I think the front office new guy, I think still interim guy making all of these decisions for the Nuggets and talk about making a statement, working the phones, getting some moves in there. I got to amend that. Like, we call them, and I still think they're like, I think this team is 10 times more dangerous with Mike Malone as the head coach. But still, this is still a dangerous team, and we call them really, really stupid for those decisions. They made some dumb decisions, not as dumb as the Mavericks. But they've, instead of getting lucked into, good fortune, they're kind of building that good fortune, I think, with the moves they've made. So I got to give kudos to that.
Logan?
Oh yeah, we're reaching deep into the summer league bag here. I'm going with Mr. VJ Edgecombe.
Yeah.
He essentially kind of called his shot by getting drafted over Ace Bailey, and he went up against Utah and snatched Ace Bailey's chain last night. So I got to give him his credit. He had 28, 10, and 4, 3 stocks. He was out there hooping. They were running the offense through him. And you know someone special when you're watching a summer league game, begging the team to run the offense through a player in the summer league. You know, it's getting to that late game situation. I'm like, why is the ball not in VJ Edgecombe's hand right now? I wanted to see more. Every year you got those players that you like watching the summer league, and I think VJ Edgecombe is going to be the perfect complement to that Sixers team. And who knows? I mean, he may end up being the best number 77 in the NBA.
That's crazy.
I was like, who else is saying?
I was gonna agree with your great point, Logan. Like, I think it was ESPN that had like the little graphic that said, "Man, this was a battle tonight." Where? Because VJ Edgecombe won by a lot. I love what the 76ers are doing. I said this in the draft talk. They're getting PG out of there. They're making sure he's not staying around a long time. So I'm glad to see VJ Edgecombe did well because I was all for him at Baylor and didn't really pan out there, but I don't think that's really on him.
Agreed.
But anybody got anything else?
No,
All
sir.
right. Well, that will do it for this edition of the Restricted Area Podcast. Thanks to Colton and Logan for being on the show today. Be sure to subscribe to the CX Pod Network for more sports talk like NFL, MLB, and NASCAR. We're doing a lot, you guys, now, so be sure to check those out. Got all these shows in circulation each and every week. Check out the Norse Benchwarmers page as well on YouTube for exclusive interviews. And then follow us on all socials at CX Pod Network. And then for us individually, follow me on Twitter at The Will Deal, Colton at Colt_45. That's three T's, by the way. And Logan, let the people know where they can find you.
Logan H_4.
And just want to thank you all for listening and watching. And until next week, you all, be smooth.